Imagine yourself standing beside an ordinary man, born without privilege, whose name has outlasted time through the flame of courage. Lucius Siccius Dentatus, nicknamed the Roman Achilles, bore 45 scars on his body, each one the result of brutal battles, single combat duels, and deadly ambushes. His marks were not merely wounds, but living medals of bravery that spoke louder than any senatorial toga. In a Rome torn apart by suffocating taxes and arbitrary decisions from the Patricians, the simple citizen's voice was often stifled by fear. Public assemblies were dispersed by force, protests were crushed, and the dream of justice felt like a distant utopia. But what if I told you that one man managed to shake the very foundations of the Roman Republic? In this video, you'll witness how Dentatus survived near-suicidal missions, ordered by consuls who feared his growing prestige, dismantled corruption schemes, and rose from plebeian to tribune elected by the people. Get ready to discover the rare honors that crowned his victories and how he changed the course of history. But before we dive into these tales and curiosities of the Roman Empire, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos filled with secrets and surprises about ancient Rome. So what makes Lucius Siccius Dentatus a true Roman Achilles? Prepare to uncover the first mark of this legend and learn how his scars became symbols of resistance and hope. Lucio, the warrior of scars, born into a plebeian family in the 5th century BC, Lucius Siccius Dentatus enlisted in the legions, drawn by the promise of steady pay and the honor of serving Rome. Soon in his first fights, his body became etched, with scars so deep they looked like carvings of an unbreakable journey. There were 45 wounds, each the result of enemy swords, spears, and treacherous blows that cut through shield and flesh. The legion's tabular records showed Dentatus fought in 120 battles, from border wars to skirmishes against Gallic tribes and dangerous patrols in inhospitable regions. He also faced 8 single-combat duels, one-on-one fights where his skill and discipline revealed a soldier capable of turning the tide for surrounded comrades. Each scar symbolized a proof of loyalty. To the Republic, under open skies and bitter cold, Lucius led formations through rain of arrows, shielding veterans and inexperienced recruits alike. Returning to camp after battle, he was greeted not simply as a survivor, but as the Roman Achilles himself. A beacon of courage amid chaos. Around tents and campfires, soldiers told tales of his invincibility. They said that even wounded, he never retreated. He would wipe blood on his scabbard and step back into the line to lift men's spirits. His reputation spread to allied villages, where plebeians heard stories of a soldier worthy of legend. It was only the beginning. Those scars, forged by pain, set the stage for Dentatus to cross from battlefield to the treacherous arena of Roman politics, challenging consuls and defending the poor with the same bravery. But how did a simple plebeian earn enough trust to stand up to Rome's ruling elite? In the next segment, you'll see how his warrior fame turned into political voice and paved his way to election as Tribune of the Plebs. Get ready to understand the decisive step that linked battle scars to power in the Forum. The Republic in crisis. Patricians versus Plebeians in 455 BC, Rome simmered with deep social tensions. On one side, the patrician class flaunted wealth in lavish banquets financed by grand public works. To sustain that lifestyle, the consuls hiked taxes on land, trade, and even military provisions, plunging the plebeian population into a cycle of debt and hardship. On the other side, the plebeians, farmers, craftsmen, and small merchants struggled to survive. A bad harvest or an excessive levy could drive entire families into poverty. To make matters worse, any protest was quickly dispersed by the patrician guards. The tribunes of the plebs, elected to protect the people, would climb the rostra of the forum to demand limits on consular power, but their voices often echoed in vain, drowned out by pompous speeches and armed bodyguards. In this climate of inequality, Lucius Siccius Dentatus emerged as a figure of hope. Clad in scar-etched armor and speaking with his wounded voice, he did more than criticize the system. He proved his worth on the battlefield. Every victory against hostile tribes solidified his credibility among the plebeians, who saw in him an ally more effective than any political rhetoric. While the patricians played their games in the Senate, Lucius won hearts in the fields and markets. His presence at impromptu rallies inspired hope. Here was a plebeian in armor, declaring that justice could be wielded by one's own hand. Thus, the tension between wealth and poverty also came to revolve around this soldier who represented the voiceless. And here arises the question that changed everything. How did a soldier without political office transform his reputation into real power in the Senate? In the next segment, you'll discover the decisive moment when Dentatus ceased to be just a voice of protest and became a true representative of the people. Prepare to learn about the election that shook the foundations of the Roman Republic. The rise of a defender, Lucius Siccius Dentatus, did not seek glory for himself. His goal was to be the voice of those without one. Between market stalls and worn marble sidewalks, he raised his voice to recount stories from the blood and mud of battlefields. He spoke of steel that saved comrades in ambushes and of promises that senators made to soldiers only to enrich private coffers. His way of speaking combined military authority with genuine empathy. Plebeians, used to empty speeches, heard in every word of Dentatus proof that someone within the army understood their suffering, from winter hunger to taxes that devoured their harvests. The nickname Dentatus, meaning born with teeth, quickly became a symbol of his appetite for justice. He was born ready to bite into every inequality. As bands of laborers, artisans, and veteran soldiers gathered to hear him, these meetings evolved into silent marches, winding through narrow streets to the Senate's doors. Each step resonated like a call to arms. Power did not rest solely in decrees, but in the unity of those who believed in a common ideal. The aristocracy, alarmed, began to watch these crowds from afar. Realizing that decrees and threats alone could not silence this voice, the patricians decided to test Dentatus with a mission they hoped would remove him from the people's hearts forever. When the elite imagined he would perish in enemy-infested fields, they underestimated his roots in the courage of every plebeian. Now, prepare to discover how Dentatus became the protagonist of a mission deemed suicidal, turning what should have been his end into the turning point of a silent revolution. The attempt to silence. A warrior, Lucius Siccius Dentatus's prestige rose too quickly. His battlefield victories, his voice among the plebeians, and his firm presence in public speeches deeply unsettled the consuls in power. One of them, Titus Relius, saw this soldier as a direct threat to the established order and chose not argument, but an ambush. The city of Tusculum, allied with Rome, had been attacked by the fierce tribe of the Aequi, and an urgent plea for help reached the Senate. Seizing the moment, Titus appointed Lucius commander of a hastily assembled detachment. This mixed force of patricians and plebeian volunteers was sent on a mission with a clear order: march to relieve Tusculum. But behind the scenes, many whispered that this was, in truth, a death sentence. The terrain was treacherous: swamps, dense forests, narrow valleys, and stealthy ambush points. Water soaked their feet and sucked at their boots, while arrows whistled through the branches. The enemy knew the ground intimately. Soldiers were tired, poorly equipped, and terrified. Yet Lucius strode at the head of the column. With armor caked in mud and his face calm, he led both by example and by voice. At night, beneath a silent, starless sky, his silver scythe, the polished gladius at his side, reflected the moonlight. To the troops, it was more than a weapon. It was a beacon of hope. Dentatus reorganized patrols, established watchpoints, and charted safe withdrawal routes. When entire units were surrounded, he personally led rescue efforts. His leadership kept the group united even in their darkest hours. By the end of the campaign, when the last century crossed the valley alive, many could hardly believe it. Lucius returned not as a martyr, but as a victorious hero. And those who tried to silence him had achieved the opposite. They had strengthened his legend. If this journey has weighed on you, bolster our legion here on the channel. Leave a like now and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapters of this true story that shaped Rome's destiny. For what comes next is even bolder. The Senate expected the final silence of an insurgent, but got back a man revered by soldiers and exalted by the people. Get ready to see how Lucius Dentatus turned his voice into power and shook the Republic from within. When the elite tried to silence Dentatus back in Rome, Lucius was celebrated as a hero, but only at ceremonies orchestrated by the aristocracy. Consuls and senators applauded him from elevated platforms, dressed in purple cloaks and gleaming insignia, yet their eyes betrayed unease. At those events, Dentatus received a clear message: speak of injustice, and your voice would be silenced by unspoken decrees. During carefully scripted speeches, he was instructed never to mention the plebeian suffering or consular abuses. Any reference to famine in the countryside or crippling debts was to be omitted. Thus, the patrician power sought control not through force, but by imposing rules in public forums, reducing Dentatus to a near-mute champion. Yet beyond the ceremonial squares, in the back alleys and markets, the Roman Achilles continued to inspire hope. Small groups of plebeians met in dark taverns, sharing tales of his bravery. Slaves who had never dreamed of influence marched silently down narrow lanes, raising makeshift banners and chanting his name like a freedom mantra. With each secret gathering, the spark of protest grew. Simply recalling the banned words transformed, that forced silence into a contained roar, ready to burst forth. When the elite believed they had stifled his voice, they found Dentatus didn't need the forum to change Rome. Now, witness how he channeled this silent energy to win a position that would grant real power to the plebeians and shake the very foundations of the Senate. The birth of the Tribune of the Plebs in 454 BC, an unprecedented milestone, shook the politics of the Roman Republic. The plebeians elected Lucius Siccius Dentatus as Tribune of the Plebs. In a time when noble blood was virtually a prerequisite for political influence, this choice was a direct affront to patrician dominance and a clear sign that the people were ready to break tradition's chains. Now vested with the legal authority to veto Senate decisions and defend plebeian interests, Lucius entered the Roman Forum wearing the semi-annular toga, a symbol of his role as the people's representative. Yet it wasn't just the toga that drew attention. It was his unwavering stance, confident speech, and courage to speak uncomfortable truths before the aristocracy that ruled the corridors of power. Without hesitation, Dentatus accused consuls, Titus Rilius and Gaius Venturius, of diverting funds meant for the soldiers. He presented documented evidence, veteran testimonies, and financial records. His words, thrown like daggers at the elite's heart, made it clear he was there not to symbolize but to act. The effect was immediate. The Senate, long used to ignoring plebeian voices, found itself cornered by a man carrying the people on his back and truth in his hands. For the first time in decades, the patricians realized their ancient laws no longer sufficed to contain a new political force. The collective will of the population, embodied by someone who knew the weight of the shield and the sting of hunger. Lucius gained not only an office but a form of power many senators never achieved: the spontaneous backing of the people, forged through sweat, scars, and genuine loyalty. But true justice in that divided Rome couldn't be served by words and documents alone. More was needed, and Dentatus knew it. Armed with newfound authority and the people's support, he returned to the battlefield, not with just any sword, but with the determination to let truth carry its full weight. Now, prepare to see how he confronted those who tried to destroy him and change the fate of the consuls themselves. The fall of the corrupt consul Shaving won the respect and trust of the people. As tribune of the plebs, Lucius Siccius Dentatus turned his gaze to recent history and to those who had tried to silence him. Titus Rilius and Gaius Venturius, the two consuls behind the suicide mission at Tusculum, would now be held accountable for their crimes against the soldiers and the state itself. Armed with direct testimonies from legionaries and official sealed documents, Dentatus assembled a case that shook the Senate's foundations. Records laid bare how, during their tenures, Rilius and Venturius had misappropriated soldiers' pay, funneling resources into private expenses, lavish banquets, and political bribes. A scandal long thought buried for centuries was now read. Aloud for all Rome to hear, the trial took place outdoors, as was custom when the people demanded transparency. There were no polished marble columns or senators seated on gilded thrones. Instead, a circle of citizens, wounded soldiers, widows of fighters, and plebeian delegates listened intently to accounts of combat without proper supplies, while the Republic's leaders indulged in luxury. Veterans took the makeshift podium. They recounted being sent to the front lines ill-equipped, receiving corroded coins instead of promised pay. Some displayed letters, others wept. Each testimony became another spear, driven into patrician pride. In the end, the verdict was unequivocal: guilty. Worse than that, they were dishonored, forced to return part of the embezzled funds. Stripped of public esteem, they became living proof that justice could indeed reach the highest echelons if people stood united and courageous. This victory meant more than restitution. It was a watershed moment. For the first time, a plebeian had exposed and overthrown two consuls in full republican glory. And he did it with proof, with unwavering voice, and with truth as his sword. But this triumph was not the end of his journey. On the contrary, it propelled him toward the highest military rank a plebeian could attain. Now that Dentatus had proven his might in the Senate, the battlefield awaited him once more. Prepare to see how he turned honor into leadership, and how a man born on society's margins rose to the apex of Rome's legions. The plebeian who reached the top after fulfilling his duties as tribune of the plebs and toppling the corrupt consuls, Lucius Siccius Dentatus did not retreat into the comfort of fame. Instead, he returned to the battlefield, where life is decided by shield, sweat, and strategy. Reintegrated into the Roman army, he marched on new campaigns in northern Italy, where Latin and Sabine tribes threatened Rome's control of trade routes and fertile lands. There, he faced seasoned enemies, ambushes in narrow valleys, and forced advances over rugged terrain. Yet Dentatus, as always, did more than survive. He led. His orders were respected by plebeian soldiers and patrician centurions alike. With sharp tactics, unwavering discipline, and a spirit of camaraderie, he recaptured lost forts and secured strategic territories for the Republic. His performance caught the attention of the highest generals and officers. In a legion where senior ranks were almost exclusively held by nobles, Dentatus defied all expectations. He rose steadily through every command until he won the most prestigious post a plebeian could hold: Primus Pilus, chief centurion of the 1st century in the first cohort. In the Roman military hierarchy, this was the highest rank beneath legates and military tribunes. Being named Primus Pilus was more than a promotion. It was a seal of excellence, recognition that this man was the best among thousands, and above all, that his authority stemmed from real experience, not family lineage. Dentatus's ascent shattered paradigms. Until then, many believed that merit could never outshine a surname. But there he was, a plebeian, his body marked by dozens of scars, commanding senior officers, issuing orders to those who once looked down on him. His name was already known, but now his image came to represent something even greater. The idea that Rome belonged to those who defended it, not just those who inherited it. And if reaching the top of the military hierarchy seemed like the summit, it was not. Because with every victory and every conquest, Dentatus accumulated not only ranks, but honors in quantities that would make even the most renowned generals seem ordinary. Now prepare to see the impressive list of decorations that turned Lucius into a living legend and forever sealed his name in Rome's history. The honors of the immortal warrior Lucius Siccius. Dentatus's story isn't defined solely by battles won or ranks earned. It's etched in something far more symbolic. The military honors that immortalized not only his achievements, but the spirit of a warrior who poured every drop of sweat into the Roman Republic. He received 18 Ascipiu, merit medals awarded to soldiers demonstrating exceptional discipline, battlefield strategy, and initiative at critical moments. These decorations were rare, typically reserved for actions that changed the course of a campaign. Amid the chaos of combat, he also earned 25 ferras, hand-sculpted medals given to those exhibiting remarkable conduct under extreme circumstances, such as shielding a comrade from a hail of arrows or leading a decisive charge while surrounded. Dentatus didn't just survive such ordeals. He triumphed with courage and leadership, yet it was the 160 ala, brazen bands of valor, that truly astonished. Each one marked a direct act of heroism in battle. They were like tangible trophies, gleaming on the arms, reminders in sunlight of who he was. So many ala that even Rome's most famous commanders rarely amassed such numbers. In addition, Lucius received 83 gold torques, necklaces not only adorning a warrior's neck, but marking membership in the legion's elite. Torques were conferred only on the most prestigious units and soldiers whose bravery exceeded all expectations. One torque was an honor, more than 80 was legendary. Then came the crowns, and in Rome they carried sacred weight. Dentatus was awarded 14 civic crowns for saving Roman citizens from dire peril. He received 8 gold crowns for exceptional valor in victorious battles and 3 mural crowns bestowed only on those first to scale enemy walls during a siege. Acts demanding absolute fearlessness. But among all, one stood alone, the grass crown, Corona graminia, woven from the very grass of the battlefield. It was the rarest and most revered of Roman honors, granted exclusively to anyone who saved an entire legion or even an entire army from certain destruction. So rare that many commanders never saw one in their lifetimes. Dentatus won it, and with it, his name transcended time, because in the end, true immortality isn't in winning wars or ascending power, it's in leaving a legacy that inspires across centuries. Lucius Siccius Dentatus, the Roman Achilles, showed that courage, honor, and loyalty to the people are stronger than any noble birth. And that's why, to this day, his story lives on. May his glory be eternal, and his memory indestructible, like the legions he saved. The Roman Achilles, legacy of an immortal time, marched on. Centuries rose and fell, kingdoms emerged, empires crumbled, and Rome's story was rewritten countless times. Yet the name Lucius Siccius Dentatus endured, not carved in marble columns or etched on golden medallions, but in the collective memory of those who recognize true courage. His legacy doesn't stand in statues, but in whispers among soldiers, scholars and citizens, still awed by the strength of a plebeian turned legend. He was neither emperor nor dictator. He wore no crown, sat on no throne. Yet he was undoubtedly one of the most respected men of the Roman Republic. His scars, those 45 marks mapping his battles, became living symbols that the fight for justice doesn't depend on noble birth, but on purpose and valor. His journey proved that real power lives not in embroidered togas, but in the union of a sharp sword and a just word. That a man's worth is measured by his ability to protect the voiceless, even in the face of elite oppression, and that the most enduring glory is earned not by imposition, but by inspiration. Lucius Siccius Dentatus became the Roman Achilles, not because of divine blood, but because he fought external enemies with bravery and, most challengingly, confronted his own nation when it failed its people. He fought for Rome, but above all for the forgotten Romans. He was soldier, tribune, commander, and above all an exemplar, and that is why his name still echoes today, a reminder that the true heroes of history are those who fight, fall, rise, and inspire. If you enjoyed this journey into the past and want to discover more figures who defied fate and changed history, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share with fellow Rome lovers. Thank you for watching, and until our next voyage through the eternal pages of the empire that conquered the world.